Hi all, welcome back to the final whistle then for another match preview on the channel, and Leicester take on Charlton Athletic this weekend. Can we see a better performance by Leicester City? That's going to be the big question. Can we actually turn up and play well and win the game and get back on track? Who knows? But the Valley is the next destination for the Foxes as we take on Nathan Jones's. Looks like big momentum, Charlton. I remember the 2005 game at the Valley. Dion Dublin scored the winner. Happy days. Can we sort of rekindle that the weekend? Who knows? But I'm going to be joined by Tom Walling from Charlton Live. I'm going to be joined by Braz, who's another Charlton fan. Kate from Blue Tinted Glasses / Leicester Till I Die. And my good mate, Steve. So let's see who's in the comments. Dawn, hello. Dan, how are we? Ant, hello. Guys, as always, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't subscribed already. Please get down and do so. Like target tonight for the match preview, 40 likes. So if we can get that, that would be fab. Let's get my guests in. Steve, how are we, mate? Can't hear you. You're muted.
Bloody hell, here I am. Yeah, hello. Yeah, I went for a nap after the prediction show, so I'm well rested.
Is that going to be the noise at the Valley at the weekend? Just nothing. Just watching the pin drop.
If they score first, it might be.
Let's get Tom in from Charlton Live. Tom, how are we, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right. How are you, lads?
I'm all right. Let's get Kate in. Kate, how are we, love?
Yeah, evening, mate. I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. Well, we'll be if we can actually turn up this weekend. But let's get Mr. Brazilians in. Braz, how are we, pal?
Yeah, all good. Evening all.
Let's swap us over. Let's get. I don't want to go on to the dark side, so I'll switch over to the right-hand side. Steve, we'll stick you in the middle. It'd be easier. A bit of protection, a bit of security during this show. So, boys, welcome to the channel. Charlton Live, big up. Hope you're good. That Tom is very handsome. Tom, you got to admire him, mate.
Paid him to say that.
Boys, let's start off with Charlton. Talk to me how things have gone under Nathan Jones. Tom, 4 points in your first 2 games. Very good start for Charlton.
Yeah, I mean, under Nathan Jones, we've been brilliant since day one. We were a shambles at the back when he took over, and he sorted that out really well. The back end of his first season. Then he got some signings in and tightened up even more. And last season, we were really built on clean sheets with the likes of Matty Godden at the other end, just getting our goals. And that seems to have continued into the start of this season. Obviously, very early days, but Watford barely had a sniff at our place, and then we managed to sneak a goal at the end, and then went away to a Bristol City side who'd obviously put 4 past Sheffield United a week earlier, and yeah, they had, again, a couple of chances, but nothing to be too worried about. And we could have won that game as well. So Nathan Jones has done an absolutely fantastic job. He's galvanised the fan base. We're getting bigger crowds, and we're just on a really positive run at the moment, which is obviously great news and doesn't seem to be slowing down in the Championship. Again, early days, but very positive around the club at the moment.
Fab. Braz, talk to me about the expectancy of Charlton this season. Obviously, a lot of teams have referred you to like Oxford of last season. Teams have wrote you off to go down, but Oxford, everyone writ them off, and then they stayed up last season and done a good job of it. So what is your sort of expectancy for Charlton this season in the Championship?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. So when we first went up, I didn't think we'd have the transfer window we had. And I was sort of expecting, relegation scrap, 21st will do me just fine.
Yeah.
But after the window, and watch how we played against Bristol City and Watford and how good we were defensively, I'm sort of thinking, hang on, can we sort of get mid-table here and solidify? Because it's been that impressive. So if you'd have asked me like 2 weeks ago, I'd have said, just as long as we stay up, I'll be happy. And now I'm sort of leaning towards, can we sort of finish in that sort of 12th to 16th zone and like be at the beach with like a couple of game weeks to go? So yeah, that's what I'm looking at. 16th, I reckon. That'll do me.
Tom, transfer window. What's it been like at Charlton? You've made some great signings. Charlie Kelman's coming from QPR, which seems a very good striker who can very much score goals. Talk to me about your transfer window so far. Any more you think could come in? Any more positions you really need to fill? What's it been about at the Valley?
I think the majority of it's done. There was talk today, I think, in the press conference that maybe we'll get one more. Yeah. But yeah, the signings have been really, really good. Signed Kaminsky in goal, who was at Luton in their Premier League season, which obviously on paper doesn't look great, but actually his performances in the Premier League were great for Luton. We've signed Amari Bell at the back, who's just sort of slotted in, and I think that's become a pattern really. If I talk about any of the other signings, Rob Apter playing right wing back from Blackpool, Sonny Carey in the midfield, they've all sort of slotted in as if they've been there forever. And that's been really, really encouraging. Up front, as you say, Charlie Kelman, he was kind of the marquee signing, if you like. And the rumour is in terms of financial investment, he was the marquee one as well. A bit of a punt, I suppose, really, because he did very well at Luton last year in League One, but hasn't really done anything at Championship level in his career so far. And I don't think he's fully fit yet. He hasn't really had a proper pre-season. So Jones have started him in both games, I think, to try and get him up to speed. And he's not quite there yet. I'm not worried about that. I think it will click. And I think most of the fan base is still behind him. And I think what's really encouraging is off the bench, we've got Miles Leaburn, who's been at the club for a few years now. His dad played for us way back in the 90s. But he was injured last year. So he feels like a new signing. And we also signed Tanto Alafe from Stockport, who starts on the bench as well because of how many attackers we've got. And when he comes off the bench again, he looks great. So between the sort of 4 or 5 strikers, we can rotate and kind of keep that pressure on at the back end of games. And certainly in the Bristol game last week, that's kind of what happened. They sort of got tired and then we chucked 2 strikers on who are as good probably as our starting 2 and just keep going at teams. So as I said to you, I think off air, I think goals are going to be hard to come by because at the level of some of the clubs at this division. But I think we've probably got enough strikers there that 1 or 2 of them will start to click. And when they do, I think goals will come. And because we're so good defensively, we usually only need 1 or 2 to win the game. So, really impressed with the business. But I think the most important thing, and Braz, I'm sure will say the same, is the way they've slotted in and they just look like part of the unit that played last year. So, it's been positive all round, really.
Yeah. Kate, what's your thoughts on the opposition?
Well, hearing that, 5 at the back, really good defensively. I feel like we're going to be playing a team that are going to stifle us and constrict us, and we all know how that plays out. So I think it's probably going to bring about some slow play with us, which isn't particularly great for our fast wingers. So if we don't play fast counter-attacking football, we could be in for a tough afternoon, I think.
What about you, Steve?
Oh, did you say you got 5 strikers? God, what's that like? We barely got 2. God, can we have one? Just, for a couple of games.
Well, it's been a while since I've heard the term marquee signing as well. I don't know what one of them is either.
Yeah, I think if defensively, if you're quite strong, we're going to struggle. We struggled fairly recently against Sheffield Wednesday until they're tired, and Huddersfield as well, and Preston at the weekend. If you've got some quick strikers up front where you can play a long ball over the top, we could quite easily go down in this one.
It's not what I want to hear, but Kate, talking about Leicester, what has been your sort of summary so far into the season and obviously the transfer window?
The transfer window, there's not really anything to discuss, is there? We've got rid of a couple of players that we wanted to get rid of. Obviously, Danny Ward was out of contract anyway. Connor Cody's gone to Wrexham. So we could do with getting a few more out the door, I think. And it seems to be that if we get them out the door, that's the only way we can potentially spend. But it's a in quote marks potentially because of PSR hanging over us. We still don't know the result of this independent commission. We still don't know if we've got points deductions. We still don't know if we've got transfer embargoes. Like, that grey area of football is starting to wear a little thin with Leicester fans. I think it's a bit stupid. In terms of what I think of Leicester at the minute, I think we've got a confidence issue. I think a lot of people perhaps think fresh slate, fresh league, one of the favourites in this league, but it doesn't really work like that. We've got a bunch of players who were battered last year, absolutely battered, and played out the league, didn't score for 11 games, could never keep a clean sheet. And we're still reeling from that a little bit. We've got a lot of staleness in the team. Getting rid of Ndidi, I actually think was a good thing, even though he was a mainstay in midfield. I think that's part of the staleness of Leicester, to be honest. It's been the case for about 5 years. So it feels like the cogs are turning in terms of generating fresh blood, but it's going to be a bit of a painful process while that transition happens through the painful PSR and out the other side. And I don't know what division we're going to be in when that happens. So it's all a bit unknown. It's all a bit opaque. It's all a bit quiet on the Western Front from the club as usual. So it's really difficult to predict what's going to happen with Leicester Nets, because if they won 3-0 at the weekend, it wouldn't surprise me. But if we lost 3-0 at the weekend, it wouldn't surprise me. It's just so difficult to predict. And the players are feeling it. They're feeling it. There's a question mark over attitude and application and effort. And that's hard to take as well. And I see it as well. But then there's also players that really try their heart out. So it's tough with Leicester at the minute.
Yeah. Brad, what's your initial thoughts on Leicester, the opposition at the weekend? I don't know how much you've actually looked into her since coming down from the Prem, but what are Charlton's fans sort of thinking?
So, I mean, I actually ran a poll on like Twitter, and obviously, I suppose I've got like a fairly biased like following, and I think the results were something like 250 votes. No, 200 votes, 75% said Charlton are going to win. And one of my close mates is actually a Leicester fan, and he's really negative about Leicester. He says like the most like not to me it sounds like nonsense. Obviously, recently a Prem side, you've got a squad value of God knows how many millions, but he makes out like he basically says you're cack all the time. And what he kept on going on about was the width. He was saying out wide you really struggle, and against Preston in particular, you really struggled apparently. Mm-hmm. And that's what I look forward to seeing the most this weekend, where that's our strength, that's our bread and butter, like staying safe at the back and going out wide. And it sounds like that's your weakness. So I've got a bit of a sneaky feeling that we might do a bit well this weekend. But at the same time, I sort of understand Kate's mindset where, because it is a recent relegated side and you've got such a powerhouse squad, you could just turn us over. Like, we're not going to know until it happens, are we? So, but the feeling right now is good because I've heard a lot of negative stuff about Leicester. So from my side, it feels pretty good, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of negatives about Leicester, battered pillar to post last season. It's about, we thought, well, winning quite a few games this year, that's probably our most focus because we didn't really get much of that last year, Transfer window has been pretty quiet apart from the outs. There's been not many ins, even though we need a striker to come in and score us goals, because in the Championship you need that clinical striker. Jamie Vardy was once that, but then you've got Jordan Ayew and Patson Daka. You'd probably say you're not really going to get much goals with them too. And this is where we sort of struggled. Leicester are very quiet on the PSR front about what's happening there. I think you look at the start of the season, that's where you'd really want to find out what's going on. But then you've got a squad who's very depleted. You've got players who don't want to be at the club, the mentality, players who just give half-assed performances like the Preston game, and the fans start showing the frustration and nostalgia against the players. And then you've got the winger coming out with a statement. Probably wasn't the right time for Abdul, to be fair, to be coming out with that. But I can see where his heart is at the right place. I love him to bits. But I think the fans have a right to be frustrated and annoyed if you are not doing what you should be doing in playing well and that. And if you're not bothered in turning up, then the fans feel that, innit? Travelling all their miles. So yeah, I think maybe with the players, they need to sort of look at themselves about what they're doing instead of criticising the fans first, because that sort of brings a bit more toxicity, doesn't it, between the club? The fans and the players are going back and forth, and it's not a good formula to go into this weekend with, Steve.
No, and I put on X earlier in the week that it feels like week 41 of last season rather than week 3 of this season. Well, it's week 2, but the same sort of thing. it's a continuation of a struggling team with no confidence and players that clearly don't want to be here. Well, we've got 3 or 4 that clearly don't want to be at the club and are out of contract next summer, and they're happy just to collect a wage. So yeah, we are quite down and negative on the club because you suffer 2 relegations in 3 seasons, and last year was awful. We didn't score as many as we'd like. We conceded far more. We didn't win an away game since January, and that's quite depressing. You go 9, 10, 11 games without scoring a Premier League goal, it's never going to be positive. And then you come down and you think, okay, well, at least there's going to be a clear out, and there just hasn't been to an extent where you think, okay, we can then reinvest in the squad and bring some more sort of positivity around the club. With the lack of shirt sponsor, the PSR issues, potential points deduction, the fan base being quite toxic, which I get. Like I'm sort of part of that as well. I'm quite negative on the club, but you are right. It could be a Leicester that turn up and win 5-0, or we lose 1-0 and we play terribly. It could go either way, and I'm just glad that I'm not going to be there on Saturday. That's for sure, because I don't want to travel 4 hours again just to get beaten, and then have to travel back with a sad face.
What's your thoughts, Tom?
On the game generally.
Yeah, no, Leicester at the minute in the situation, the orange. You think it is a good time to sort of players on everything that's happening with the club, or do you sort of?
I suppose, yeah, it's a good time to play you in as much as you maybe haven't found out exactly where you fit in the Championship yet. Looking at your squad on Wikipedia or whatever, that's still a squad littered with players that I've heard of and recognise and have played at a high level, and so on paper that could be scary, but. Again, as we were saying before we came on air, the mood around Leicester is clearly negative, and where you're coming into this game is the exact opposite from us, right? So we were 2 divisions apart last year, and suddenly we're chucked in the same division, but for very different reasons. So we're just on an upward spiral, and there's good vibes, and we're selling lots of tickets, and we've made good signings, and that's all great. And you're coming down from a tough Premier League season. As you say, some of the players seem to have maybe slightly down tools. They're probably annoyed that they're down back at this level as well. And so there's that whole atmosphere around your club. Kind of as we were all saying, that doesn't mean that the players' quality, you might go out and roll over us 3-0 at the weekend, and that wouldn't surprise me. But the way that both teams are going, probably the smart money says it's going to be quite a tight game, I would say, because we are good at home. We haven't conceded at home since the last day of last season. We didn't concede in the playoffs. We didn't concede in the first game of this season in the league. And we don't concede many. So I expect the game to be tight. I think if you were to find your feet, make a few signings, the team settles down, you could be a dangerous side back end of this season for sure. Because look, you're still a side that were in the Premier League last year. So maybe playing you at this early stage might be a good thing. But yeah, honestly, I just don't know how to call this one. The Watford one, I felt we might get some in. The Bristol one, I said I would have taken 0-0 before the game, and that's kind of how it played out. I'm not as confident going into this, but maybe that's just because of your name and where you were last year. And maybe I should be. Maybe I should have a bit more confidence. Go, do you know what? Actually, if you look at the squads and the way it's going, Charlton possibly are favourites. I haven't looked at the betting, so I don't know. But yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game. I think for us as well, and again, you probably won't be feeling this, we're just enjoying playing like big clubs again. Like we were in League One for 5 years. We've kind of fed up of it. Not that we had any divine right to get out of it, but when you're playing those sorts of sides and you go into grounds that are sort of 5,000 capacity, it's draining. Not because we're a Premier League side, but just because we've been in the Championship a lot. So even just going to Bristol, playing Watford, you guys coming down, that's exciting. And I'm still kind of just trying to enjoy it, even if we get beat. But yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. You guys are giving me more confidence by saying how bad you guys are at the moment. So that's helping. So if Nathan Jones is watching this, you're doing his team talk for him, I think.
Yeah, I'll switch off now, so make sure I don't watch anymore. Braz, what's the strengths and weaknesses for Charlton?
So it's kind of similar to what Tom just said, actually. I just want to touch on that. So I would just say your weaknesses and our strengths. So I feel like it's almost like Leicester on a bit of a come down. It's almost like, you come back from holiday You go back to your job, and it's just like, oh, can I be bothered, sort of thing. And I think that's what I'm getting from that Leicester squad and what your fans are saying. It's almost like, as you said, these players are thinking, I should be playing for the Premier League. I should be playing level above. Whereas I reckon our players are sort of on our way to like New York or wherever you want to go in life, and they're excited. And I think a lot of our players have only had really League One experience, so this is all very new to them. And I think they're, as Tom said, on a sort of upwards trajectory. And I think that's what's pushing us on. And obviously, the biggest strength we've got is our manager, like Nathan Jones. Like he had a bad spell at Southampton and Stoke, but those are sort of poison chalice jobs. So when he's had time to sort of lay his mark down and get something going, he's proved his worth now at 2 different clubs. So I just think with our defence, how organised we are, and the belief we've got, and just again the momentum, like everyone's sort of on the same page. Like you won't find a single Charlton fan who's negative right now, unless they're just being a weirdo, basically. Whereas at Leicester, it's sort of like you all seem quite down to me, and I feel like if we go on the Valley on Saturday, I feel like if we get a goal up, I could see us going on top a little bit, like the atmosphere turning. Whereas if we go a goal down, we won't get behind our team in a negative way. We'll back them the whole way until the final whistle. So it's a bit cliche, but that's just what I'm looking at. I think we're on different trajectories, which is weird when you consider how good Leicester have been for like the past decade. It's just kind of bizarre, to be honest, to even listen and read about it online. That makes sense.
Yeah. Kate, what's your sort of thinking going into this game with Leicester? Performances haven't been great out there. I think we played one good half of football against Sheffield Wednesday in the second half. Apart from that, it's been real down from there. What's your sort of thinking going into this one against Charlton?
I think there may still be a bit of a hangover from the Preston match potentially. It'll be interesting to see what 11 he puts out, because obviously with all the rumours around El Khanous, he's pivotal in terms of system and winger link up as well. So if Bilal's not going to play, then that space opens up, which will be interesting to see who he puts in there. So, I want the players to show effort. I think they will, because I think they've obviously been quite hurt by what happened at Preston with Fatawu to be the one that gets nominated to do the Instagram post. I don't think he's done that without consulting the other guys. I don't think that's really how it works. So it will be interesting, and I hope there's just some effort really. But I will say about the fan base and feeling negative, because I'm quite anti that. And anybody watching who wants to voice that at games, I'm not saying don't do it, but see what it does to those Charlton fans. It galvanizes them. It makes them think we're going to get you. And what do you think the Charlton team are going to think? They're going to think their fans think they're shit. We're on it. Like, do you see what I mean? It can really turn the tide of a football match, regardless. So it's just something to think about, because hearing those two guys almost live off the blood of negative Leicester should give you some indication that it probably doesn't help the results. So I'd like to see a bit of work from some of the fans at the weekend to try and get more behind them, because players don't go out there really on the whole wanting to be shit.
No.
Lau didn't go out there wanting to be shit on Saturday, but they're humans. So I just think, there's a little bit of give and take between fans and the players at the moment, and we want them to do well. And I think the players want to do well on the whole. There's a few people that we could highlight where we question where some of their loyalties lie and where their heads are at. But on the whole, we all want good things to happen to Leicester. So if we can start off well, then great. But I don't, on the past 2 league games, we've not started well. We couldn't get the ball off Sheffield Wednesday in the first 15 minutes, which seemed to set the tone quite quickly. And the same with Preston. Preston came at us. They were aggressive. They were ferocious. And we can't deal with that very well. And it's been many a year, really, where you've seen Leicester fly out the blocks properly at the whistle and really get into teams and get in their faces. And that can really help get momentum in the game and hopefully in games going forward as well.
Steve, player-wise, which players do you take out? Which players do you put in? There's been a lot of talk about Louis Page, Jeremy Monga, Ben Nelson, Wild Fast to potentially come back in, Ricardo. Where do we sort of look at it with players you'd obviously put in? Because Bilal's head at the minute is very much in a bubble. You don't know where he's going to be at or who he's going to be playing for at this minute in time. Harry Winks, we don't know what's happening there with him. What is our sort of thinking with like players going into this game?
So I think if Ricardo's fit, he plays. It makes sense to bring him in. At this point, as much as I hate to admit it, Wout Faes is our best central defender. He has to come in and play. He wasn't great against Huddersfield, but he came on and scored against Sheffield Wednesday. He came on and did a job at the weekend. I know he was cut out for their goal and threw his arms up, but he still makes the effort. In regards to the midfield, I think you still have to start Harry Winks. I'm not sure about Samare. He's quite pedestrian in that midfield at times, so maybe you bring someone like Hamza in as a bit more of a destroying central midfielder. But I'd keep the front three the same. But yeah, it all depends on Bilal. I don't think he's in the right headspace to play, judging by his performance at Preston. I just think there's no point, because if he's not going to want to get injured and screw up a move to Palace or Spurs, whoever he's going to go to. So in that case, I guess you drop Ayew back and bring Daka on up front. And not ideal to have Ayew in the cam position. I think he's better as a striker to hold the ball up, but he does tend to drop off into midfield a bit more than what you'd want your strikers to do anyway. So if there's a focal point for Daka, and as much as we are sort of down on the way Daka plays, he put effort in on Saturday. You can see him running after the ball and chasing players down and pressing, and that's one of his benefits. I wouldn't start Monga. I think coming off the bench for half an hour to play makes sense to keep Mavididi and Fatou on the wings. So yeah, I like to think he'll make some changes, and then that way we can see an improvement. I guess it's just really on what the players want. If they want to play, if they want to put the effort in. I agree with what Kate says in regards to the negative fan, like the reactions and stuff. We saw against Sheffield Wednesday when their fans came in after 5 minutes. It galvanised their team to an extent. And you couldn't do anything to it. So I back the lads. And hopefully we come out with a result. It would be nice, that's for sure. But I can't see us starting Monga. And I don't want to play him as a 10 because he's not that creative attacking midfielder as of yet. He's a quick, pacey winger that can. I guess when you're a fullback and you're on 70 minutes and you think, okay, I've had Mavididi at me for 70 minutes, and then you bring Monga on who's 16 and can do what he did against Jerry Smalls. I wouldn't want to be in that situation. I'd be knackered thinking about it. So I would say good luck to your fullback, lads, when he comes on.
I think with Winks as well, I don't know if you guys feel the same, but in play, I have no issue with him. I don't think I don't think he's crayons down type of guy. I don't think he sulks or particularly, but obviously out of stuff, he's not celebrated goals. He's walked straight off down the tunnel. The behaviour is questionable outside of actually the game time. But during game time, like Sheffield Wednesday, he changed the game. He's still exceptional at this level, really.
Yeah, I think we need a team to obviously efforts minimum in the game. It is the bare minimum that you do give 100% in games. I'm hoping they can pick a side that can actually go and give us that as fans, give us that little bit of a lift from the start. Players who want to have that bit of bite about them. Wout Faes has obviously got that, and he'll challenge, he'll go through you if it needs be. Yeah, you want players who can get at Charlton, who can go and give everything, and that's what we sort of missed against Preston. We need that leader on the pitch. If Ricardo's fit, fantastic. Get him in straight away. Someone who can lead this team, because with that Preston team, we felt that hole in it. There was no leader to say, boys, we need to pick up here. It just went away quite quickly because there was no one talking to each other, and we were just at 6s and 7s for the majority of the game. But Louis Page, I think, is a fantastic player. I think he can do quite a bit at the weekend if we can maybe start him. Monga, I like him. Maybe Mavididi down the middle. Who knows? But yeah, for Fatawu, I like him. I think he struggled a bit against Preston. Hopefully he can pick up his form a bit more. But yeah, the defence is going to be key. I'd like to see Ben Nelson in there potentially and go from there. Boys, coming to you, Tom. Mavididi used to play for Charlton a few years back. What was he like at the Valley to see as a player?
He was a bit of a maverick. I don't know how young he was. I think it was his first loan from Arsenal, and I don't think he played at all for Arsenal when he came to us. So he was very, very raw. I liked him. There was a couple of times where he would get on the ball and take on 3 or 4 players. I'm sure it was him at Rochdale away, took it around the entire squad and then hit the post or put it wide. So he had little flashes, but we got him so early on that, I think it would be unfair to have judged him on that. But he's one of those players that you then keep an eye on. I think I enjoyed him enough to kind of see where he ended up. So I thought when you signed him, you'd got a good player there. I don't think he's Premier League level yet. And obviously the fact that you've got relegated kind of shows that. And I think we had him in League One at the time, but I would have said he's a decent Championship player now. And obviously I don't watch you week in, week out, but I would have thought he's the sort of player that could make something happen and could turn a game by himself sometimes and then probably frustrate plenty of times elsewhere. That was certainly our experience of him. I don't know if that's still the same now, but when he came to us, he was one of those lone players that worked hard. Going back to your point there you were making about effort being the bare minimum, he gave that. It was, I think we got promoted the year after we had him on loan, so he was just there at slightly the wrong time. But good player. How do you guys find him and what's he like now?
Was he doing those really frustrating stepovers that take 10 years?
Because he did a lot of stepovers. Yeah, he did a lot of those.
I've never seen such a slow stepover in my life. It's like he stands still and then does it. I'm like, what? You've got pace. Beat the man.
I think at League One, those stepovers were probably all right because he was playing against players that were a lot slower.
He loses his heart a bit quick. He'll give it one go sometimes and then think, I've not got the fullback today. And then other times he'll give the fullback an absolute rinsing. You never really know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
I agree with him. He's a frustrating player. You know, in like the first 15 minutes, what sort of day Mavridi's going to have. He can be a good player on his day where you think this guy's got something. He can offer a lot and get at his fullback. I think he needs to be more driven at these fullbacks, though. That's what frustrates me. These step over. Then you think, can you beat the man? He obviously doesn't. And then he goes backwards. I'm like, but that move's gone. As soon as you look at that, and this is where Charlton will look at him, they'll think this guy does a lot of step overs. We need to stick 1 or 2 players on him here, and it will see him out the game. And Mavridy, he's not. I wouldn't say he's quite Premier League level as of yet. I think he didn't really get given much of a chance, but I don't think he's stepped up his level enough in the Premier League to say so. So for Championship last time, I thought he were fantastic with Fatawu, him and Jamie Vardy as well in that middle, hit off quite a bit. So I just want to see a lot more from Steffi this season. And we'll see how he turns up against you lot. Are you guys a sort of side like Leicester where ex-players come and bite you on the arse?
Yeah. Yeah, ex-players always score it. It feels that way, doesn't it, anyway, Tom? It definitely feels that way. I don't know if it's become a bit of a myth, but yeah, I've lost count how many ex-players have come to the Valley and scored and given us the big one. I've lost count.
Who's your players to watch at the weekend? Who do we need to look out for apart from Charlie Kelman?
Do you want me to say Tom or
whichever one? Yeah.
So you go.
I'm really intrigued by, because I keep reading the chat about your wingers, and I know your wingers are good because I really rate Mavridy, for instance. Like when he went to the French league for that season and done well, and you signed him, I thought it was a really good move, and I thought he was going to do well in the Prem actually as well, and he didn't obviously. But we've got a player called Kane Ramsey, right? And our other fullback, Josh Edwards. And I'm very intrigued to see what happens when they go against each other, because against Bristol City, just got to check these names quickly. So there's a player called McCrory for Bristol City and Mehmeti, and there was a lot of raving about those two, how good they're going to do, and we really kept them quiet, which everyone was really happy with. So we thought, can our boys step up from League One to the champ? The answer was yes in that game. Another example is Barr at Watford. We heard a lot about Barr, and I knew how good Barr was because we'd been beaten by him before, like single-handedly, effectively. And again, Josh Edwards really stepped up. So I'm really excited to see our fullbacks against your wingers. So I think it's going to be a real spectacle. And on the flip side, I think we've got the damage as well. I think we've got 2 young players, Tyrese Campbell and Rob Apter, very talented wingers. And I'm really intrigued to see the matchups, like how it fares. And I think that's where the battle's going to be won on the day. So yeah, watch out for that player, Kane Ramsey. Tom will tell you himself, just phenomenal player, like our best player. And I can't wait to see how he gets on the rest of the season against these top end champ players consistently. So yeah, watch out for Kane. Yeah.
Tom, where do you look at from a Leicester perspective?
You tell me. You tell me. I mean, as I said a bit earlier, I look through and you're talking about players like Oliver Skipp. Like, I remember him playing in the Premier League and playing well in the Premier League. So,
not for us.
And yet you guys are talking about him like, you know, he's gone off the boil or it's not working. So
25 mil we spent on him, Tom, by the way.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know really. Is the honest answer. I mean, as Brad says, with Mavididi being an ex-player, he's one that worries me for sure. But throughout the rest of that Leicester side, I don't know. Again, I can only really echo what Braz was saying about the width, because I think you guys were saying like your danger comes through the width. Well, our defensive solidity starts with the wing backs, as he was saying. So that whoever wins that battle, it sounds like, is probably going to win the game. I would say our midfield is probably the weaker part of our side. I don't think it's weak at all, but it's the weaker part. But if you're not playing through the middle, then that maybe isn't so much of an issue. But I think if we can get Tyrese Campbell and Rob Apter on the ball, as Braz was saying, then we can cause you some trouble. But yeah, from your perspective, as I say, I don't really know, because last season I would have said Vardy, and he's not there anymore. But, you know, when I look at Leicester and I think of Leicester, I think of him, because he's been the linchpin of your side. And it would be very interesting to see you talking about kind of work ethic and stuff. Would he be letting players get away with not giving 100% for Leicester if he was on the pitch? You know, even though he can't necessarily do it himself as much anymore, I'd think probably not. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that's like. And the atmosphere when Watford came and when we went to Bristol, you know, Bristol had just missed out last season on playoffs. Watford were kind of with a new manager, as they always are. So there was sort of a freshness about them. You're the first club we've come to this year where perhaps there's a bit of a downer around it. So it'll be really interesting to see how we handle that. Because I think, as Kate was saying earlier, that could fire us up. But we haven't had to handle that yet. So I still don't know if we're favourites. But even if there is that mentality that you're a team that can be got at, that's something new for us to deal with at this level. Whereas at League One, we probably did go into games thinking we expect to win. Whereas now, I'm not saying we expect to beat you at all, but maybe there will be an atmosphere where, do you know what, this team are there for the taking. It'll be interesting to see how we handle that pressure, because it's different to, can we just get something from this game?
Yeah, I'm very much in the camp of, if we could turn up the way we did against Fiorentina, the more quicker in transition, getting forward a lot quicker, press from the front, make it uncomfortable for you, then I think it's a game we can very much go on and win. You know, if we can turn up the way we did against the Italian side. But then you look at the Preston game, if turn up like that, it could be a long afternoon potentially. So the thing is with Cifuentes, he's trying a lot. He wants a certain style and he wants the players to fit that criteria quite easily, to be fair. He needs them players to do so. We've not really gave him much in the transfer window to bringing players in of his own for the tools we can work with. But we have got the players there, your Mongas, your Fatawus, your Mavididis, your Bilal El Khanousis, but how long Bilal's at Leicester is going to be another situation. But Monga, star player, young, loves to be driving at these fullbacks, and we're very a whip side. I wouldn't say we go much through the middle because we haven't really got the midfielders to do it apart from Harry Winks, to be fair. We don't really bless with pace in Samara and Oliver Skipp. But yeah, what's your thoughts, Kate?
Yeah, interesting hearing them talk about the midfield. I mean, Leicester for me are just a polo mint right now. We ain't got a middle. It's the most pointless part of it's actually the most concerning part. I mean, people focus on Vardy not being there anymore and not having a striker, and it's been an 8-year problem really that we've just kicked down the road consistently. But for me, the midfield is our biggest problem, because apart from Winks, there's no one else that comes close that should be really starting in that team, especially now that we've lost Wilf as well. So that's going to be a big problem for us, and I think we need to sort it out in this window really. But whether we will or not, I don't know. But I'm hoping that we can use the wingers. We can be fast-paced and front-footed like we were against Fiorentina. Fiorentina could have just been a red herring. It was a free hit. It was against a team that were about 3 weeks behind us in pre-season, so they were sort of still on the beach a bit, really. But if there's question marks over attitude and application again in the first half, then you just bring the kiddos on and see how they go, because they've got nothing to lose. And if you're playing these seniors who aren't behaving like seniors and keeping some young, ambitious talent out, then it's time to try it and make them see. Because if we're going to pay them anyway, you can't get rid of them. Then I'd rather just leave them on the bench and let them stew. So we'll see. It all depends, I think, in that first 15 minutes is where it could go right or wrong for Leicester. That's when the tone seems to be set with us. But the slow-paced play, which has riddled our team for the past 5 years, most of those players can't shake it. They can't shake it. I don't think Marty wants to play like that, but there's some real deep-rooted poor habits that have emerged in our play, and we can't shake it. So it's going to take quite a lot of force for Marty to get through it. But I back him. I think he's a decent guy. He said all the right things. He's having difficult conversations with players, cupping his ears to the fans. He pulled him to one side and asked him what it was all about. And I think he deserves an approach of a fresh slate from the fans and the players. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, really.
That's what you want, a manager who's committed to finding the roots of the problems at Leicester and getting rid of that bad smell. Braz, I'm going to come to you with this one. Last time we played Charlton in the league was 2013, is what I spoke to you just before we'd started. It was at the Valley, 2-1. You guys won. Matty James got sent off for Leicester, 2 yellow cards. Michael Morrison scored for Charlton from a corner. And I'm not going to mention the other guy's name because he's not worth a mention in my eyes. Yeah, what's your sort of thinking of last time round when we played you? Do you think you're looking at that type of performance again from Charlton, or where do you sort of look at it?
Got to be honest, I don't remember it. I could barely remember last season. Like, I'm not even joking either. Like, I barely remember some of them results. I mean,
God, I wish we were like that.
Let me rephrase that. I'd say 2 seasons ago is a blur when we nearly got relegated. It felt like so, but last season, yeah, I'm still on track. Back then, I think football's changed a lot. Like it's come a long way. Like I feel like the tactics on like a different level, and I just think the games play completely different. So, before I remember that game, not much. All I remember is obviously your fans saying that Jan was a bad signing, and him sort of keeping you quiet. Like, that's all I can remember. Sorry, but other than that, I mean, it's too long ago to sort of use it as a benchmark. Like, essentially, Leicester have been very successful for the past 10 years, and we've been absolutely pathetic. We've spent 8 years in League One out of 10, so that's all I can say about it. Really, like, I wish I spent more time in the Championship, but it's all a blur. And obviously, the last time Championship was a COVID season, so again, I'm very excited to go for a whole season of Championship football again, where we can actually go to the games consistently, and the world's a different place. So, but yeah, that's my long answer. Sorry, it's a blur, to be honest. Yeah,
Steve, I think the last time we won there in the FA Cup, Dion Dublin scored 2-1. Wasn't pretty last time out. That guy always scored against us after leaving Leicester. You know who. But yeah, you look at the team back in 2013-14, Steve. They had a lot more fight about them, a lot more wit, didn't they? You had a manager who were very much straight to the point. You didn't play, he'd drag you off. He had a team full of characters who would give that fight, and that's something you want to see this time at the Valley, don't you? Where from Marty Cifuentes' men.
Well, yeah, it's night and day if you compare that team to this team. I mean, you would say on paper this team probably has more quality, but there is that fight and determination and togetherness from that sort of 2014 side. And look at what they went on to achieve in that time, going up and winning the league. I've always had a bit of a thing with Charlton, because I don't know what it was, but when I was younger, we always seemed to play. I always remember being like, "Oh, we're playing Charlton again." Like, where did that come from? Like every year, I was like, "Every week we're playing Charlton. Can they go away?" And we weren't very good against you guys, if I remember, in the Premier League and stuff back in those times. But yeah, back in 2014, we were on the wave of we just got knocked out of the playoffs against Watford, didn't we? That the season before, and then we came back and we were stronger and ready to go. And I'd like to see a bit more of that this season, to be honest. Some of the players fighting for each other, and if you've got one player that's getting kicked on the edge of the box, another player coming in and smashing that guy, and taking him out, that'd be quite nice to get the fans going.
Yeah, I agree. Players in both camps. I'm going to come with one player with you, Tom. Paul Konchesky.
Legend. Loved him. Absolutely loved him down at Charlton.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd happily talk
player.
more about Jan Kermorgant again because I love how much he winds your team up.
Vito.
Should we kick him on?
Can we talk about Chris Powell instead?
Yeah, I was going to say Chris Powell. That's who I was going to say. Love Chris Powell.
Yeah.
We can have him as well.
I
Another Charlton
didn't realise you disliked Jan this much. I actually had no idea. It was
did you not?
It's just
this hatred.
Did you
it was
again,
proper.
He did
well,
that.
my mate.
Yeah. Did you not see the penalty shoot against Cardiff where he tried to?
No, I know the penalty. I know the Panenka. I know about it. But my mate's he's less fan. He don't talk about him at all. So it's like a different world. It's really interesting.
You can see why you don't talk about him.
Yeah. Asking about him, then you'll get your answer.
I'm going to start name dropping a bit more now. I think maybe he's trying to eliminate it for his memory.
I think what was funny was as well because we obviously knew about that penalty miss, and then he went on to be one of the greatest players we've had for 5 years and score really unbelievable goals from all over the place and everything. It was such a massive contrast from how you guys felt about him that it was funny, particularly because he then kept scoring against you every time we had him. But Konchesky and Powell, brilliant left backs that we had. As I say, a bit like Kate was just saying there, Powell was the one out of the two that became a club legend, obviously played for us for a lot longer, came back and managed us, got us promoted with Jan, funnily enough. Trying to think if there's any others that have played more recently as well.
I'll put it in the list for you.
Lookman played for you as well.
Yeah. Lookman came through our academy. So we had a guy. It was in the Roland Duchâtelet days. Who was our awful owner. And we had a manager who I think was. He was barely qualified to do the job, if that. But I'm pretty sure it was him that gave him his debut.
Carol Frey.
I think it was Fry, wasn't it, that did it?
Kushi Shev, I think he were
Ben Hamer's one. Yeah, Ben Hamer's one. He was good for us, Hamer. Really good.
Yeah. Looking through that list, there's very few of those players that we don't rate, really. Like I say, Powell, Kermorgant, Morrison in that promotion side, huge. Lookman, gone on obviously to be nominated for Ballon d'Or, hasn't he? There's good players in that list.
There is. There's been quite a few who's been good for Leicester, but then there's been obviously some that haven't been so great.
Not so good.
Baz, I'm going to come to you with the last one. Score prediction.
I'm going to say 1-0, I reckon, because just based on everything I've heard, I think you're going to have a bit of a growing period, and while you clear out the players that need to go, maybe. And the manager gets his hold on a team. And I think just how solid we've been, especially at home, like 27 clean sheets, including playoffs last season, I think, Tom, or 28. I just reckon, based on how we started, I think we'll carry on. Sorry, what was that, Jack?
I'm hoping you have an off day now.
Yeah, but I think clean sheet, and I reckon we might nick one.
Blindfold on, that'd be fantastic.
1-0 Kelman. I've got a sneaky feeling we'll get a late winner. That's my gut feeling.
Bloody hell, bloody Ford scores, lady, 7 goals, let alone 1. Jesus.
Let's not waste them all in one game.
Yeah.
The rest of the season.
We're going to score for 17 after that.
Tom, what about you, mate? Score.
Probably agree. I know it's a boring answer. I think I can't see more than a 1-goal swing in it unless something goes drastically wrong for either team. Even if you have a really off day, I just think we're not set up to score lots and lots of goals. Obviously, I'd love to be proven wrong. And at the other end, as I say, unless something goes really wrong, you might get a goal against us. But unless we have a terrible day, I can't see you scoring 2 or 3. So it's going to be tight. I'm pretty sure of that. Famous last words. But I think we could sneak another 1-0 at home. It's funny how many people in the chat are talking about Kelman, and obviously you referenced him as well. Yeah. As I say, hasn't set the world alight for us yet. But certainly seems to be something or someone that your fans are worried about. But as kind of Braz was saying earlier, there's a couple of other players that I think will I was going to say enjoy watching, but if they have a good day, you probably won't enjoy watching them. But I think it's going to be tight.
Fantastic. Steve, I'm actually going to come to you, mate, actually, with the next one. I'm intrigued to what you come out of your mouth now with what you come in the prediction with, Steve. So I'm going to see. That's why I've sat you in the middle, Steve, You're you're in the naughty chair at this minute in time. That's why I put you there. So let everybody know what you think, Steve, regarding the score at the weekend.
I mean, it shows how far we've fallen when Tom's saying you're going to struggle to score against us. You know, like that's how bad we are. That we're like, oh, Charlton, they're going to keep a clean sheet.
That's all right, mate.
Yeah.
Good to have you in.
Well, my issue is that we tend, as we've all said, Kate and said, that we start slowly in games, and if you guys start quickly and you score quite early, you know, we know that the fans will turn, unfortunately, because that's just how it is for the next sort of 10 or 15 minutes, and they tend to get behind the lads again. And then we concede again. So I think it'll be a case of that if you exploit our weaknesses down the left-hand side, you know, with your wingers, with pace, then, yeah, I've gone for a 2-1 Charlton win. And I don't like saying it. You know, I don't like going against my own club. It feels a bit dirty, to be honest. But I just feel like if you guys score early, the heads will drop again, and we don't have the creative spark in the midfield with Bilal doesn't start to get back into the game.
1-1 written all over the game. Well, it depends how Leicester turn up. We never know what Leicester we're going to get on the day, to be fair. Well, we did last season, but I don't know. But Kate, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going for 1-1. That's what I've predicted in the prediction league thing. I think it'll be 1-1. I think Charlton will take the lead, and I just think we'll have enough to get the draw over the line. But yeah, it just depends how we start, really. But I also will say that the transfer window, every single year for as long as I can remember, being open when the season started is so disruptive, so disruptive. And players cannot settle, and you can see that. You know, there's been rumours about probably a half of our starting 11 in the past couple of weeks. We've had Winks, we've had JJ, we've had Bilal, we've had Casey McAteer today. We've obviously lost Mads already. Connor Cody's gone already. You know, the people that we really want the rumours about, there's zero rumours about. But yeah, it's an unsettled feeling amongst everything at the moment. So yeah, I think 1-1.
I think it's also important to say that come September the 2nd, when we know what squad we've got, that's when things will start to kick on a little bit more. I think, as Kate said, having the window open and all this uncertainty doesn't help anybody. So once that closes and we know who's at the club and they know they're going to be here for the next 3 or 4 months, that's when
Marty can concentrate as well. Marty at the minute will be partly concentrating on trying to get his philosophy and the players on his side and trying to, you know, harden them up to what he wants to play. And then similarly, he's probably on the phone a lot, dealing with ins, outs, God knows what. And there's just a lot going on at the minute. There's a lot going on for him. And every manager. I just mean Leicester tend to not cope with it. Plus the PSR stuff. Plus that we're going to get punished. Plus that we're going to have an embargo. Like there's so much stuff in the air. It's
a lot of unsettlement.
We're so positive about Leicester.
I know. It's great, isn't it? You know.
But a lot of that, the PSR stuff isn't. We can't do anything about it. This 12-week independent commission. Apparently, the 12 weeks was last week.
It's been
Why haven't we heard anything? Like it's stuff out of our control, and I just think when you've not heard anything, sod it.
Can I just ask a quick question to the other lads, Jack?
Yeah, go on.
Guys, what are your feelings on PSR as a sort of a thing in the game at the moment? Do you think it stifles competition, or like, because you know, bear in mind that we're in the 4th year of this now, and yeah, we're yet to be punished, but it looks like we will be this year. But what do you guys see? Because I see in League One it's less than it is, but you've gone up so you can spend money a bit more.
I find it very strange. I think it's been set up with good intentions, hasn't it? The idea behind it, I think, is a sound one. I just don't think they'd necessarily envisage what was going to happen with it and how it was going to play out. So based on, look, you're not the only club having to go through it. I think it needs a rethink. It's as simple as that. You look at was it Jacob Ramsey having to go to Newcastle? Like having to sell your youth players to get pure profit is just bizarre, because they're players that the fans love the most if they come through the academy like that. That's just not a sensible thing to have in football. And yet PSR, as it stands, incentivizes clubs to basically bring players through and then sell them for a lot of money. So I think it needs looking at for sure. As I say, I think the intentions of it were good, and you don't want a monopoly where the top clubs are just going to stay the top clubs forever. So you've got to find a way to make it not a complete even playing field, but you've got to find ways of doing it and giving other clubs a chance. I just don't think this is it. And it just makes every decision have so many ramifications. Like you say, because you got relegated, the knock-on effect of that is even more than it already is when you get relegated, given the financial discrepancy between Premier League and Championship. So, yeah, I think they set it up with good intentions, and I think something like that needs to be in place. I just think it needs a rewrite, probably. And maybe if the independent regulator does eventually come in, that's something they can look at. Because I think hopefully most fans agree that some form of independence is required to look at this sort of stuff. But like you guys will know better than us, the gap between the Premier League and the Championship is just so enormous, as you're already finding out. And like the finances around that, it just means that I can't imagine many clubs come down and don't get hit by it in some way.
Yeah,
but
and
in
nobody.
what business would you get relegated or demoted in a whatever other industry? So you lose a load of funds there because you've gone down to the next level. Then you have to sell players on the cheap because you're not getting full market value. Then you can't spend to replace, and then you get PSR points deductions at your door. Like it's so destructive to a football club. It seems to have the opposite effect of encouraging people to behave accordingly, because there's one particular club that hasn't behaved accordingly with 115 charges that we just go, oh, that's all right, it's only them, we'll brush that under the... No one talks enough about it because it's so unknown. But the sort of smaller clubs, I know we've perhaps seen bigger to you, but like the Evertons, the Forests, us, even Paul Morecambe, that have been struggling with money, like they're sort of the lowest hanging fruit, it feels like. And Leicester paid the ultimate price by getting relegated. So to keep hammering us to say, well, you're going to get relegated, then you're not going to be able to do any transfers. You've got to sell people like Madsen Manson for half their value. What do you think that's going to do to the football club? And it's so counterintuitive. It blows my brain why these clubs voted for it.
And also, obviously, you guys don't need to hear this, but 2015, I think it was, wasn't it, that you did it? It was like such an amazing thing for football. And then you look at teams like Everton, like Forest, like a Villa, like a Newcastle. As a fairly neutral Premier League fan, I'd be loving it if those teams were pushing for Champions League every year, because it mixes things up, and I think that's exciting. But how do you make sure it's still a fair competition whilst allowing them to do that is really tricky when you've got a club like Man City who've got unlimited funds. So it's not an easy answer. I understand that. But as you say, I just feel like the wrong clubs are getting punished for not necessarily making terrible decisions, particularly compared to what City are alleged to have done.
Everything in sight, I could almost take it, but we got relegated. Like Manchester City, if they have broken all those rules, they've denied fans Champions League finals. They've denied those other fans the chance to win leagues, to win cups. They've actually denied the glory feeling that you pay your money to go and see as a fan. Leicester got relegated. No fan wants that anyway. We're not stolen an experience from someone.
No, and no fan. Like, we don't go to watch football to talk about accountings and PSR and this. We go to watch football. we go to see goals scored. We go to see games won, and players putting on a performance. I don't want to sit down at the pub for half an hour before a game talking about, are we going to be £1 million under PSR budget this year? And hasn't John Rudkin done an amazing job to get £1.6 million more than he would have done because of PSR? Like, give me transfers, give me goals, give me games won. I'm happy.
Karen Brady sort of touched on it this week, didn't she, on Talk Sport? I don't know if you saw Karen Brady's stuff, but Karen Brady was like, most of my time is spent with my calculator figuring out who we need to sell to potentially get that person in. But to get that person in, someone else in another club has to move. Like, it's all like a game of chess. Yeah. And she's like, it just blows her brain. That's what football's become off the field.
It's a business module now these days, isn't it? It's a corporate type of thing. It's not football anymore. It's just a business.
But it's an unsustainable model, right? Particularly at this level, because you're reliant on an owner who can... Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Right, score from me. Bloody hell.
You had all this time to think about it, Jack. Come on.
I have. I was thinking about a draw, but then, do you know what? Our backers 2-1. Our backers 2-1. If we turn up, play well, we win the game. If we don't, I reckon 1-1. I reckon it'll be a point apiece. So, Braz, thanks for coming on, mate. I'll catch up with you outside the Valley at the weekend. We'll chat more about the game.
Yeah.
Everything like that,
What's more important, is there a food place that you guys recommend? Because Jack does his food reviews before the games now. Have you got a special place to send him?
I did mention a place I like, Goddard's, but the problem is that you'll be really pushing it for time to get to the Valley and go to Goddard's because, you know, so your best bet is like, I don't know if Tom can recommend it. There's a burger van outside the Valley. I've not had it since I was about 10 years old, so I don't know what to do to this, to be honest.
I'd say best one on the corner as you come out the station is the Valley Caf. That's pretty good. And Charlton Kebab opposite is pretty decent as well, but both are busy. Yeah,
Valley Caf is Ramo. Unless you get there like 9 a.m. or so, you struggle.
Nobody wants to eat a kebab at 9 a.m. though, or anything like that.
Exactly. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, well, that's
you have a look around when you get there.
I've seen it. Yeah. So you might have to settle for something like. Is there a Greggs nearby? A Subway? You might have to settle for a Greggs or a Subway. To be fair, they're on the main roads as you come out, so you could do a food review there, I guess. Yeah.
Bryce, thanks for coming on, mate.
No worries, guys. Take care.
Well, Tom, what's coming up on the Charlton Live, mate?
We'll be doing a review of the game Sunday morning. And then we'll be previewing whoever we've got next week on Thursday. So it'll be the review show Sunday morning. Hopefully talking about a win.
Tom, is that the new kit that you're wearing, or are you wearing an old kit?
No, this is a retro one. So Charlton started doing them now.
It's a bit NFL-y, but I really like it.
Yeah, this was 95, 96, something like that. But Charlton have started just bringing them out officially now.
Retro, mate.
So
these bloody shirts that they make you pay £70 for. I don't know how much the shirts are at Charlton, Tom.
I think this one was about £40 for a retro shirt. So not bad. I think this year's kit was 50, 55, something like that.
Yeah, at least you don't have to get Jordan Ayew on the back, though. That's a positive.
If I got Ayew on the back, I think that might be a problem. So.
That's true. Yeah,
I'll get Kermagant on it this weekend if you like.
All right, I won't look at you the same again. So, you know, I don't want to be blindsided walking to the Valley at the weekend. That's all right. Cheers, Tom.
Nice one. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Right then, I'm going to ask you to the very last one. Ivanovic from Millwall has been linked. Is he a striker you'd take?
Yes.
Okay. Have you done your little research on him?
I have. He reminds me a little bit like Jamie Vardy. He's a bit tenacious. He can finish. He's a little bit skillful, which is always good to have as a striker. And more importantly, it's a striker. We're linked to a striker for the first time in a long time. It's everyone get the banners out. We're going places.
It's the first time since Tom Cannon that we've been linked to a striker. I feel like it might be.
God.
Surely we can't afford him. Well, if we get rid of offload some of these players, we might actually afford them, to be fair.
Yeah, I said last night that night before, we're very much going to be a late window sort of business. We'll get a couple of people out by the beginning of next week. I think Bilal leaves. I still think he goes to Spurs over Palace, to be honest. And then you might see Justin leave and potentially Casey. And then that's when we start, looking at players and bringing people in. And hopefully it doesn't take, as long as some deals have done in the past by 14 seconds and we actually get to register some players.
Okay, what's your thoughts on the McAteer one with Ipswich submitting a bid? How much would you realistically say is worth in this market?
I think if you can get 10, you're probably going to be happy with it, to be honest. I like Casey because of his work ethic and his commitment to Leicester. And I think, to be honest, had he not got injured in the Championship season, I've seen him on a bit of an upward trajectory up until that point. He has stagnated a little bit, but I think no one moved forward last year with our squad. I think Ruud put test to that. And I think he does need a rub of the green and a run in the team. I don't mean that to rhyme, but that kind of does. So I think he's not had that continual playing that he did under Enzo in that first part of the Championship season. So I quite like him. I think his pace can be electric at times. I was really impressed with him when he came on against Fiorentina. So I'd be sad to lose him, but it's getting to the point, and it's the same with JJ. It's kind of, I feel like JJ is a little bit of a horse that's run its race with Leicester, and you're never going to, you've seen the best of him. He's had some horror injuries, and we've seen the flip side of that with Ricardo, i.e. can never keep fit, and JJ, who's had the same ACL and then torn Achilles, can keep fit. And from what I know from his stats, he's one of the quickest and fittest in the team. But he's just not been, I don't think he's been utilised great either. He's a left-sided player. He's always playing on the bloody right. So I think we're getting to a point with Leicester where it's going to be painful, but these days are coming that we've been wanting, where we've got the players that are nice to have and the players that we really need to keep. So Casey and JJ fall in the nice to have bracket if you've got a decent 11 and they're kind of maybe fringe players on the outside, but there's some ruthless decisions that have to be made. And I know there's a load of names above them that you'd want to see go, but it doesn't quite work like that. And I think if you get, 8, 9, 10, I think that would probably, I think we'd probably take that.
And plus, it's your profit as well, which is the most important thing.
Importantly so. And you've got to make those decisions now. If we really want to make a go of it and potentially get promoted, maybe not this season, but maybe next season, to give a proper go and have next summer's window with a checkbook open for once, you've got to make some hard decisions today that may make this season a bit shit and a bit feel like you're stagnating, but you have to make some decisions to try and for the greater good, if you like. And it feels like there's a couple of those decisions that are going to sit at the doorstep. Now, Bilal's another one. We could perhaps challenge and keep him or get an extra 5 million. But the decision needs to be made, a bird in the hand and all that. And I personally think Bilal didn't produce what I wanted him to last season. 2 goals and 3 assists isn't, to me, more than a 30 million quid player when you think we sold Madders and Barnes for 40. They're established, proven, and gone on to be successful Premier League players. And Bilal, as much as I love him, I don't want to lose him. He's amazing. He can be really creative, but he hasn't created. He created. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he needs to fit
not a lot going on. He's busy and he looks pretty. And we've already seen Monga score a goal this season. He's actually produced something. And I know Bilal's got a few assists already, but you left a bit. Bilal looks pretty and I think he's great, but if you get the 30 million, I think that's more important potentially. It may make this season a bit of a nothing event, but I think if you really want the Leicester back to give it a good go in the future, then that may be this season that we have to just press pause on stuff.
Yeah, and what's important about that as well is that I think a lot of our fans get attached to players and overvalue what they're actually worth. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I love Abdul. I think he's a bright spark in the club. But if somebody was to come off from £45 million for him, you take it, because that money then helps the club progress in the next 2 or 3 years' time. There's no player that is above the club.
Totally.
And if anyone has a value and somebody reaches that value, then go with my blessing, because the club is more important for sure.
Yeah, and Bilal, in a year, if we get 30 for Bilal, that's a 50% markup in a year. That's fantastic business.
Yeah.
We're a selling club at the moment, unfortunately, and we will be for the foreseeable. That's fantastic business. And there's always something better. And Seagrave's starting to produce the goods. And, when one person leaves, a window opens for another. So.
What about Justin? Is the Leeds deal back on? Do we reckon that's not a serious injury? Do you think we could see him exit?
What is his injury? I've not seen the update on that.
He had a dead leg.
Was it just a dead leg? Yeah.
But to be fair, the challenge was quite a horrible challenge on him.
Yeah.
I thought that could have, if it was slightly higher up his leg, that was a red card challenge. But refs in the Championship, we know they're not very good. I think with Justin, as Kate has hit the nail on the head, really, that he's been here a very long time. We've seen the best out of him, and clearly he's not good enough for the Premier League. I don't think. I think he sort of sits in that between bracket where he can do a job in the Premier League, but he's not your starting right back. And with him out of contract in the summer, £6 million for him, which is pure profit at this point. Get him gone and reinvest that in the fact that we have a Luco coming through. We've got players that can take up those positions that are younger, that I think will put more of an effort in.
I agree. Kate, thanks for coming on. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
No, I appreciate it. Are you going to the game on Saturday, Kate?
I'm not. I can't make it. I'm at a festival. The last one.
Oh, no. You're going to enjoy yourself instead.
I'm going to enjoy myself rather to enjoy Leicester City and give myself a coronary. So, I've not been to an away day yet, but I'll be at Oxford. I got my Oxford ticket. So, Yeah, you need to bring the points back, guys. Are you two both going?
No, I'm not. Funnily enough, I've got friends that are coming up from Charlton to see me on Saturday. Yeah, I was annoyed when I double booked it, but actually, I think it's a blessing in disguise.
Well,
Jack, it's all on you, mate.
Preview. Yeah, I've got the weight on my shoulders now to actually go and get these points. To be fair, and hopefully they bring them back.
You feel like Daka now, don't you? You've got to be the one that puts the goal in the net, and we're not sure you can do it. So you best bring them back, Jack.
Well, I'll end up wearing a bloody football band on top of that if that happens. So, yeah, I'm not risking that. But no, Kate, thanks for coming on. Enjoy the festival.
Yeah, cheers, matey. Enjoy the game.
See you later.
Okay.
Steve, thanks for coming on. 2 shows in 2. The predictions for anyone who hasn't watched it, go check out the channel now. The 3 Horsemen were there, Rich were there, and it was a rich encounter, should we call it? No worse point intended, but yeah, good preview. Leicester take on Charlton at the Valley at the weekend. Can the Foxes get back on track and actually go and put in a performance and turn up? I can only hope, but yeah, let's see what happens. Maybe Patson Daka scores. Maybe Vestergaard actually gets a header on in from a corner. We don't know, but yeah, they things we do hope for in the future references. But nah, Steve, thanks for coming on, mate.
No worries, mate.
See you later. That is it from me then. Take care. It feels like a bloody late night whistle, doesn't it? But no, I appreciate it. Come on, Jack. Get us the points. I hope we get tomorrow. Yeah. Cheers, boys. Appreciate it. Thanks everyone coming in as always. 7-1 win there. We start a winning streak. Yeah. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't subscribed already. Please get down and do so. It'll help me out massively. If you're watching this on Playback, let me know your score predictions ahead of the game. If you're a Leicester fan, if you're a Charlton fan watching this, let me know your thoughts always. Thanks to the Charlton boys for coming on as well. We really appreciate them. And that is it from me. Take care. Have a great rest of the night, wherever you're up to. And keep it at the final whistle.